Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest names in the software world, Kubernetes. It's a technology that promises so much: speed, power, scale. But as we're about to see, there are two sides to that coin.
You've almost certainly heard of it, but it's tough to really capture just how dominant it is. Our source for this explainer, which is a massive review of the topic, flat out calls it the de facto standard for managing the nuts and bolts of modern software.
And the numbers back that up. I mean, look at this. A staggering 77% of the entire market for container orchestration. It's not just another popular tool, it's practically the only game in town. All right, let's get into it.
So what is this thing? What is this force that's completely reshaped how companies build and run their software?
At its heart, it's all about automation. It manages what we call containerized applications. Now, you can think of a container as a perfect little package. It's the app plus everything it needs to run, all bundled up together. Kubernetes is like the ultimate project manager for all those packages, handling all the complicated, boring work so developers can just focus on building cool stuff.
So here's a super simple way to think about how it works. You've got the brain, which is called the control plane. This holds the master plan. It knows exactly how everything is supposed to look and run. Then you've got the muscle, the worker nodes. These are the machines that actually do the heavy lifting and run the software. The brain is just constantly telling the muscle what to do, making sure the plan is always being followed 24/7.
Okay, so you can probably see why everybody jumped on this train. When Kubernetes works the way it's supposed to, the benefits aren't just small tweaks, they're game-changing, and the results can be absolutely incredible. Get this. The U.S. Department of Defense used it to take their software release time from something that took months, sometimes up to 8 months, all the way down to just 1 week.
This chart just lays it out perfectly. I mean, just imagine what that means. You're taking a process that used to eat up the better part of a year and shrinking it down to a few days. That is the incredible velocity that Kubernetes promises. And it's not just about speed, not by a long shot. The people using it every day, the practitioners in our source, they talk about all these other amazing benefits. You get the flexibility to run on any cloud platform you want, so you're never locked in. The system can scale up automatically when you get a huge spike in users. It even has the self-healing power to fix itself when things go wrong, and it's all supported by this giant open-source community that's making it better all the time.
I know, right? With a list of perks like that, it really does sound like the perfect solution, the holy grail. But the data we have from hundreds of actual users tells a slightly different story. It's a bit more complicated than that.
So let's flip that coin over. Because for all of its incredible power, Kubernetes brings with it a whole new set of challenges that are very real and, frankly, often underestimated.
Our source material points to this clear pattern, a nuanced perspective, as the authors call it. And it turns out that for just about every major benefit Kubernetes gives you, there's a pretty big challenge that comes right along with it.
And here are the biggest headaches for the people who use it every single day. The top issues are all about security and just not having the right tools. A massive 41% say there's a lack of good security practices. And right behind that, you have folks struggling to make the system secure and find good diagnostic tools. Oh, and of course, there's the famous learning curve, which is a major pain point for 28% of them.
And these folks do not hold back. They call the ecosystem bewilderingly vast. They even say that dealing with it day to day can be mind-numbing. So yeah, this isn't just a small bump in the road. For many, it's a huge wall to climb.
This right here, this is the whole paradox of Kubernetes in one slide. On one side, you have this promise of powerful, easy configuration. But on the other side, the reality is that actually managing those configurations across all your different environments is a massive headache for users.
So the big takeaway here is that you can't just casually adopt Kubernetes. It's a major commitment. The source is very clear. It's not a set-and-forget platform. You need dedicated people to keep it running. Security is such a huge deal that nearly half, 44% of organizations, say they actually delay shipping software because of it. And basic things, like keeping your data safe, that requires a complex setup that isn't even turned on by default.
Now, this tension, this pull between the promise and the reality, it leads us to our final and, honestly, maybe the most important insight of all. There is a huge gap between what millions of Kubernetes users actually need and what the academic research community is working on.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. The authors of our source paper didn't just talk to users. They went out and analyzed over 100 peer-reviewed academic papers about Kubernetes. They wanted to see if the problems researchers are trying to solve match up with the real-world problems people are actually having.
And the results are just startling. Look at this. For so many of the biggest issues practitioners are facing, that steep learning curve, the constant maintenance, testing, storage, there is literally zero published research on them. Nothing. A total disconnect.
This slide just lays it out in the starkest terms possible. The #1 challenge for people in the field? Security. It shows up in 41% of the industry reports they looked at. But the #1 topic for researchers? Performance, which takes up almost half of all academic papers. You know how many practitioners listed that as a top challenge? Just 8%. It's like they're living in two different worlds.
So, let's put it all together. Here's the key takeaway from our whole explainer. Kubernetes is the king, no question. It's powerful, and it's not going anywhere. But it comes with very real trade-offs. And maybe most importantly, there's this massive disconnect between the problems that real users are facing every day and the solutions that are being researched and developed.
And that leaves us with a really big, important question for the future of this technology. As Kubernetes keeps growing, who is going to step up and build the bridges, the tools, the education, the research that are needed to close these gaps and actually make the incredible promise of Kubernetes a reality for everyone? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.